Hey everyone.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello from Kentuckiana?
Kentuckiana.
Okay. Kentuckiana.
So we're in the southern part of Indiana right now, right along the Kentucky border. And the northern border of Indiana with Michigan is Michiana. So yeah, we're in Kentuckiana.
We're in Kentuckiana. We just finished the Bourbon Trail down in Kentucky. Joe's having some bourbon as we speak. We are camped at our friend's place in Georgetown, Indiana. They have a wonderful farm here where they raise hogs, and we got a chance to taste some of the most delicious pork chops I've had in a really long time. So it's just been great here. So before we jump into today's topic, I'm going to let Joe recap the first two episodes. For those of you who are new, if you get a chance, I would recommend watching the series from the beginning.
Now, Leo here is going to help me recap the first two episodes. In episode 1, we talked about living life on your own terms. For us, that meant getting out of corporate America, working for ourselves, and hitting the road to see the rest of America. And in episode 2, we talked about financial freedom, what that means, how to get there, and why it's important to living life on your own terms.
So this episode is all about planning and taking calculated risk. And when we talk about planning, enjoying your Kentucky hug?
Nice and warm down the middle. Wraps its arms around you.
So planning really consists of three main parts. It's doing research, building a roadmap, and setting goals for yourself. Research for us meant figuring out what kind of RV we wanted to get, how we wanted to travel, and where we wanted to go during our travel. So figuring out the RV was one of the biggest parts of our research, because there are so many options and we had to decide on whether we wanted a Class A, a Class B, a C, or a tow behind. There are so many options, and then when we figured that out, we had to decide on a tow car, and there are many options for tow cars as well. So once that all fell into place, then we had to figure out, how we wanted to travel. Did we want to go just to state parks, national parks, or do we want to go into big metropolitan cities? Yeah. So budgeting also fits into planning, because you need to know how much it's going to cost you roughly to live the life that you want on a monthly and yearly basis. Because we were going to quit our corporate jobs, we weren't going to have insurance, and figuring out, estimated roughly what type of insurance we're going to get and how much that would cost us, estimating fuel prices, campgrounds, all of that really play into planning and budgeting.
And a good example as to why this became so important is if we went with a big, diesel pusher, 42 foot long, and we were actually looking at these initially, those would have cost a lot more than our 30-foot gas RV. And we decided on the 30-foot gas RV because we knew we wanted to go to a lot of state and national parks which have size limits. We also didn't want to be burdened with such a large RV. But this played into our long-term plan, which was, if we got a large diesel pusher or something like that, we could be paying upwards of $1,000 a month for the RV payment. Currently, we're paying $600 a month for this, and that really affected our monthly budget because we planned to do this for a year. And when we planned to do this for a year, we had to figure out what that budget was and how much we needed to put away in savings on top of our emergency fund in order to survive. And every one of those decisions played into that. Research
is so important because there's so many details that go into it. From figuring out gas, estimating what that's going to cost, how many miles you plan to travel, what's insurance going to look like if you have two vehicles. It's not just the RV insurance, but also the car insurance. And then getting all the gear to get on the road, such as the tow bar, a bumper for our Jeep. Having all the information you could possibly need to understand the new lifestyle that you want to lead will help you set up for success when you do take that leap of faith and get on the road or, whatever it is that you want to do.
And, to be very clear about this, it doesn't have to happen overnight. It probably took us a good, I would say almost a year to figure this stuff out. Now, when we started out, the first thing we really worked on was what our budget might look like. We hadn't bought an RV yet. We hadn't even decided what kind of RV we wanted, but we put something together so that we had a goal in mind as to how much we needed to save. from that, we could figure out a timeline, which we'll get into next. But your plan will evolve over the amount of time, and you'll make changes to it. You can adapt and you can continue to change, but you need to be cognizant that when you first start planning, you're putting down a foundation for what's going to come later.
Another great thing about the research phase of planning is as you start to research, you begin to realize that you're not the only one who's looking to live that type of life. There are so many people who live full-time on the road and work for themselves, and it's a really great community. And as you start doing research for the type of life that you want to lead, I'm sure you'll start to find other people who do it. Reach out to them, because everyone we've reached out to has been so supportive, and they're more than happy to help you and answer questions to help you take that step to live the life that you want.
Yeah, we actually found a couple, the Snowmads. We met them in person. They camped in our driveway well before we had the house for sale, and really helped us out with a lot of things. When we started this, we literally thought we were going to be the first two people in our 30s to quit our jobs and live on the road in an RV. I remember sitting down and researching all this stuff, and just blog after blog of people who are doing this. It's very helpful because there are a lot of resources out there for whatever you want to do. And for us, it was so helpful. And it really made us feel like, you know, the jump off the cliff that we were about to take wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be.
And it makes it real, because you realize that other people are able to do it. It's not unattainable. And since we've been on the road, we've been lucky enough to meet Jason and Nikki of Gone with the Winds, Cherie and Chris of Technomania. You know, we've met up with Kristen and Jason of the Snowmads.
Ben of His and Hers Alaska.
Ben, His, Hers Alaska. I mean, it's incredible the community that's out there and how much support there is. And everyone is so nice and helpful. You know, do your research and reach out to people.
We're all there to help each other out and, you know, be there for one another, because the toughest thing about living on the road is you start to feel very alone. Even though, you know, I have Kate, or that you've left your friends, you've left everything you know, and once you find this community, it's fantastic. And that's one of the wonderful things about the whole like research and planning phase.
So once you do all the research, then you really have to build a roadmap for yourself of all the things that need to get accomplished in order to live this life. And going from owning a home, having 2 corporate jobs, to life on the road, there were a lot of things that had to fall into place. So we had to figure out when to list the house, how much time we would give ourselves to sell it, if it took longer to sell or if it sold quickly, you know, what were we going to do with that time frame, when we had to buy our RV. And since we knew we were going to finance the RV, we wanted to make sure we purchased it before we quit our corporate jobs so that we can get proper financing. You know, figuring out when we would leave our jobs, whether that's before or after we sold the house. I mean, there's so many things that have to fall into place, and laying out a roadmap for yourself will help you not only get a better picture of where you are along the way, but also help manage some of the craziness that goes on. Because there is just so much happening, and it tends to get pretty stressful. And if you don't have it well laid out with a good goal in mind, you know, you could get pretty discouraged along the way.
Our roadmap kept changing because I was going through some things at work. Our company was getting bought out, so our roadmap actually got pushed out because there were some financial benefits for me to stay. So we had to adapt to that. And as we were pushing out our launch date, we were looking at other things as well, because we still had to buy the RV, but we didn't want to buy it too soon and have the RV for 6 months, be paying on that while we still have a house, and only have half of our warranty once we hit the road full time. And it also really helps where when we start getting the house ready for sale, we could look at that roadmap and say, you know, it's May and we need to start getting things prepped, start talking to our realtor, start planting flowers in the yard, whatever we wanted to do, just so we could have the house sold by the time we leave in September. Otherwise, we're going to have to keep pushing that date out even further.
Yeah, and so many things relied on other things, right?
Yep.
So the other piece of planning is having goals. And ultimately, your goal is that sort of launch date of when you take the leap of faith to go and live the life that you want, whatever that may be. And for us, that was getting on the road in the motorhome. So we had a launch date that we set for ourselves, and that moved a little bit depending on how things shifted, but having a goal in mind will help keep you working towards that. And, you know, set little goals for yourself as well along the way so that you can check off those achievements. Getting the RV purchased by a certain date, or selling your house by a certain date, you know, notifying your jobs, and having enough money in the bank by a certain date.
So the other thing setting a goal does is it makes the whole thing very real. You have an end date in mind. That end date may change, but it's essentially on your calendar and you're moving towards it. And the big difference that made for us was when we started planning this over 5 years ago, we weren't exactly sure when we'd be leaving. We just knew in 5 years. But as we start getting closer, I remember our living room couches were starting to get kind of torn up with the dogs jumping on them and everything else. We looked at each other and said, we just need to make these last until this point. You know, there's no reason for us to go out and buy anything new. It really changes your perspective on things. The other thing it does is it makes you invest in this idea of yours, because you'll start telling people that, hey, next year I'm going to do this. And when you start telling a lot of people that, it makes you really take ownership of it and push it forward, because your friends, your family will start asking you about it. Hey, when are you leaving? What's going on? Let's make sure we hang out before you leave. And it helps motivate you to keep going.
So the other piece is taking a calculated risk. And, you know, what does that mean?
So for us, that means that you're jumping off the cliff, but you have a parachute. Our parachute was, first of all, our savings. We planned to do this for a year, plus we had an emergency fund. The second parachute was really our parents. They told us that if everything went south, we could come and stay with them. They both have room for us. They'd love to have us. And it really made us feel that if we truly failed and everything went bad, we still had a place to stay. Not everyone has that support system. You should really figure out what that calculated risk is that you're going to have to take, and then start working through your backup plans. How are you going to support yourself? How are you going to make it out if everything goes wrong? And once you do that, making that leap off the cliff is going to be a whole lot easier.
The other piece for us was figuring out income options outside of our website and our YouTube channel. So we know that Amazon has work camping at the end of the year, packing holiday gifts that, you know, is a pretty good deal, or work camping at a campground. There are a lot of remote jobs that we can apply for. So we pretty much looked at all the options and had multiple backup plans, which made us feel a lot more comfortable taking this leap of faith.
And again, it goes back to researching and finding that community, because there are a lot of people out there who work full-time on the road. And when we started talking to those people, they started trying to figure out what jobs we could have if we needed them. They have a lot of contacts, remote work positions, and, you know, have told us, hey, there's a job here if you guys want it.
So the homework assignment from this episode is to start planning. Do your research, build a roadmap, and start setting goals for yourself, and start creating backup plans for yourself. Next week, we'll talk about execution, starting to live the life that you want, and making adjustments along the way.
Thank you for watching this episode. Hope you guys are getting something from this series. We'd love to hear all your comments in that about what you think. But we'll see you next week. Bye, guys.